This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in the last session, we talked about implementation project. And activities till development client. Now, let us talk about the activities which we will be carrying out from development onwards. Like once you're done with the development client activities, what exactly we will be doing and on what basis, on what sequence we will be doing them. Let's say in development client, we have mentioned that.
I have a quick question just before we proceed.
Yes.
Okay, is it possible when you are migrating from a legacy system or a non-SAP system into SAP system, you migrate all data and then you archive it in all transactional data and then you archive it in SAP? Is there a possibility or you only migrate open items?
We don't archive it, we only migrate open items basically, because if you are migrating from the legacy system, depending on the size, let's say if your organization is 3-year old or 5-year old, it will be a huge
Mhm.
data,
Okay,
and the size and all is normally not possible. Even if you are archiving it, on what basis we are going to retrieve it?
okay,
Normally we
okay,
don't do it.
okay. Thank
So
you.
Okay.
how do they then go to historical data if they want to go back in time to check the information?
Yes. Okay. So in development, what we will do, we will perform unit testing, and we will prepare unit test document, and we will also create configuration document. So these points we discussed in the last session that we will be doing in the development system. You will perform unit testing, you will prepare unit test document, you will also prepare the configuration document from the development system. Let's say your unit testing is completed, your UT document is also prepared, you have also prepared the configuration document. What happens next? When you're talking about testing, you need to talk about something called a test script. Test scripts or test cases. When you talk about a test script or when you talk about a test case, first of all, what is this test script or what is this test case? For us to understand what is the test script or what is the test case, we need to make sure that we are able to understand on what area we are actually working on. For example, I am working on SAP FICO. When you say that you are a FICO consultant, when you're in a project, you're not going to work on entire modules or entire areas of a FICO. Your task, your work is limited when you're in any project as a FICO consultant. Let's say I am working on GL module. Similarly, I am working on AP module. Let's say I am working on AR module, just for an example. This is an example. You're working on GL module, AP module, AR module. When you talk about a test script, first of all, what is the test script? And how you are going to decide that these are the test scripts or these are the test cases? For this, you need to understand the business process first. For this, we need to understand the business process first. When you talk about a business process, this GL is a business process. How your client is managing their GL module. Similarly, how your client is managing their AP module, AR module. In GL, what will be there? In AP, what will be there? in AR, what will be there. Similarly, in each of the modules, what activities will be there, what we will be performing, we need to have a basic understanding. Based on this, when you're talking about a test script, you need to segregate between the two activities. First one, I will say consultant activity, and I will say end user activity. When I'm talking about consultant activity, basically as a consultant, you are doing configurations. You're doing configurations. And end users will not be doing the configuration. End user will be creating master data. End user will create transaction data. End user will generate reports. Now, when you're talking about a test script, when you're talking about test case, you are representing end user activity. It is straightforward. When you're talking about a test script, or when you're talking about a test case, we are clearly representing end user activity. Your test script talks about master data. Your test script talks about transaction data. Your test script talks about reporting. Tomorrow, if somebody is asking you, have you involved or were you part of any of the testing in your projects? If your answer is yes, they might put another question. Can you tell me what cases you have tested? Somebody is asking you, can you tell me what cases you have tested, or what are the test scenarios you have tested? For this, your answer should be based on the module. If you're talking about GL module, you must know what are the master data from GL point of view, what is the transaction data from GL point of view, what is the report from the GL point of view. In short, from GL point of view, you will be creating a GL master data. So what I will say, if I have to write from GL, and now if I have to put test cases, so what I'll put, I may simply put create GL is a test script. Now I will say change GL is another test script. Third one, display GL is another test script, which means for a simple GL account, you are going to have three test cases, whether you are able to create a GL account or not. Second point, whether you are able to change the GL account or not. Third point, whether you are able to display the GL account or not. Once you are able to create, change, display, there may be additional options. Like you're able to copy the GL account, you're able to block, unblock the GL account. These points also you need to test as part of creation and change. Once this is done, let's say you're talking about a transaction. I may say GL posting. When I'm talking about GL posting, there are different transaction codes to pass a GL entry. You may use FB50, you may use F-02, FB01. Likewise, there are different screens, different transactions to record a GL document. A debit and credit to a GL account, you have multiple screens. Out of these so many transaction codes, which one you are going to test? On what basis you will decide that I need to test these transactions alone for my test, for my unit testing, as per my client business process? How you are going to decide that these many GL accounts or these many transactions I need to test? For this, there is another document. You are going to depend on a document called BPML. This BPML is nothing but business process master list. This business process master list will contain the detailed transactions that are applicable for your client business process based on the pre-agreed discussions during the initial stages of the project. Let's say in the GL module, your client is using, please be on mute. Your client is using certain process, let's say in GL. Inside the GL, whatever the sub modules that you are going to have, let's say GL posting, GL reports, GL parking, GL holding, various other reports. For everything, you are going to create a record which will have a document, which will have a transaction code against it or a Fiori application against it. Now, either the transaction if it is applicable or the Fiori application if it is applicable. If both are applicable, you need to make sure you're testing accordingly. Now, currently, any project that you look at, it's an S4 HANA project. According to S4 HANA project, we normally do not use. Now, most of the projects currently are S4 HANA. When I say most of the projects currently are S4 HANA, in this S4 HANA, users will use Fiori more than GUI. In S4 HANA projects, your users will be using Fiori more than GUI. When we're talking about Fiori, when you're talking about GUI, you need to understand the difference between Fiori. You need to understand the difference between GUI also. If you're talking about GUI, you're talking about this screen. If I log into this, this is what I call it as GUI. Okay, I'll just show, I'll not do anything here. Okay, this is how I log into the system. Here, the moment you log into the system, you will find something called SAP Easy Access. This SAP Easy Access is end user area. On the end user area, you are responsible for accounting. Let me expand this accounting. If I go to this accounting, here again as a FICO consultant, we will be majoritarily working on two areas. One is financial accounting, which is FI. The other one is controlling, which is CO. Let me open financial accounting, FI. Inside this, I am talking about GL module, AP module, AR module. Let me open GL module. If I go to GL, which is general ledger, let me expand it. In this, I have different classifications: document entry, document, account, master record, periodic processing, reporting, information system, and environment statistical key figures. Let me open document entry. If I open document entry, there are these many transaction codes inside the document entry. This is your SAP end user area. I am inside the FI module, inside the FI GL module, inside the GL document entry, in short data entry, in short transaction posting. In transaction posting, there are so many transactions I am able to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, more than 20 I have. And here I have another thing called document entry. If I go here, another, if I go here, another. So I've got so many T codes here. When you're performing UT, when you're performing testing, are you going to test all these transaction codes? Is your user going to have access to all these transaction codes? First of all, that we need to understand. How you are going to decide that what transaction codes will be part of your unit testing, what transaction codes to be included in your project. Now, the list of transactions which are applicable for your project based on your client business process is decided and is documented in a document called BPML. BPML is nothing but list of the transactions which are used by your client for their day-to-day business process. If I'm talking about GL document posting, out of these many entries, which transaction codes I am going to provide to the user for GL posting? Let's say I am giving FB50, my BPML contains FB50. Now FB50 is part of your test case. Similarly, FB50L ledger specific posting. If this is also used by your client, this FB50L will be part of a BPML document. This FB50L will be part of your test script. Similarly, F-02, same thing if it is used, part of BPML, part of test script or test case. Similarly, FB01L, FB50, whatever the T code which is applicable, make sure you take this transaction code, you will include it in the BPML, you will also include it in the test script. You need to make sure each and every transaction is tested from your side. Whether your user is testing it or not, it is always secondary. Before you deliver to the user, before you go and sit with the user for UAT or user acceptance test, we need to make sure that we have tested it from our end. As part of unit testing, everything is working fine. Now the problem here is when you're testing it in the development system, what normally happens, as a consultant you are going to have SAP all access or SAP FICO all access. When I say SAP all access, I normally mean you will be able to open transactions related to SAP FI, SAP CO, SAP MM, SAP SD. In short, any transaction code you will be able to access in your development system irrespective of the module. This is one way. The other way is you will be having SAP FI all, SAP FICO all, or SAP CO all. When I say SAP FICO all, I will be able to open the transactions related to FICO module only. Something related to SD, I may not be authorized to open it. Something related to MM, something related to HR or PPPM, I may not be able to access. In some clients, in some projects, you may be having authorization restrictions at consultant ID level also, even in development. In development, let's say I have all access. I can open FI module transaction, I can open SD module transaction, I can open MM also. So when I am testing in the development as part of UT or unit testing, since my ID contains all the access, I will not be facing certain errors. Because my ID contains all the authorizations, there will be no error related to authorization. So this is one point that you need to consider here. In development, when you test, everything will normally work fine because your ID contains full authorization, full access. And when the same thing, you're testing it in the quality system with the user ID. When you're performing UAT with the user ID, you must have completed another activity called user roles and authorizations. Okay, you must have completed another activity called user roles and authorization. The user who is not supposed to create a GL document is not supposed to open the T code. It should give an error message at the bottom stating you are not authorized to use XYZ transaction code. Now this point again you need to take as part of your initial discussions with the client, and you need to create the roles and authorizations developed with the basis consultant based on the business requirement, and based on the user list you will decide how many roles are needed. In each role, what a transaction authorization is to be created. You need role only for creation, you need role for display separately, you need role for display and modification alone separately. All these points we need to understand and create a role. Based on the role assignment to the respective user, we are supposed to perform user acceptance test, without which you should not do it. Otherwise, your user also contains the full access. Whatever the testing you are doing, your UAT is also supposed to verify whether the authorization related elements, whether the authorization related checkpoints are satisfied or not. Now here, you have a big list of transaction codes. When you are testing, are you going to test everything? No. You are not going to test everything. You are going to test only the selected transactions. Those selected transactions. You will come to know the selected transactions on the BPML list. This BPML list is mandatory document in every project. Without BPML list, you will not understand how many transactions are applicable, what transactions we are using. This information you will be drafting in the BPML. Based on this BPML, you are going to update your checklist of the test cases or test script. For each and everything, you need to prepare a checklist. Make sure it is working fine, and you update your remark. Wherever possible, you put the document that is posted from your site and the result okay, not okay, errors. If it is okay, no problem. If it is not okay, you need to put a remark why this is not okay, what observations we have found. If there are any errors, what errors you are getting, so that later on you need to fix the errors and then you need to retest it to ensure that this is working fine. Okay, this is related to your transaction related test script on what basis you are going to create. Later on, once this is created, we need to look at the other areas also. Master data. If you look at master data, now let me minimize document entry. If I go to master records, in master record I have GL accounts. In GL account I have individual processing, I have collective processing, I have display changes, I have compare company code, I have sample account. Are we going to provide all this transaction code authorization to the end user? Can my end user use all these T codes or only selected T code? How you are going to decide? Which one you are going to test as part of your unit testing? These points we need to understand. Right? Whatever is applicable based on the client business process with the agreed business process, finalized business process during the initial sessions at the business blueprint, we will finalize. These are all the processes which are in scope. These are all the processes which are not in scope. Whatever is in scope, for those scope items, you will be deciding the transaction code. You will place this transaction codes in the BPML document. Whatever is there on the BPML document, you are going to test it. Now, if you see, there are a lot of transactions. It is practically not possible to test everything. You are going to identify the selected transactions. Only based on that, you will be performing this. After this, we understood one more thing related to report. Now, what are the reports? If you talk about reports in SAP is not reporting. Reports in SAP is always information system. Open information system, you have general ledger report. In this financial statement, you have so many things. You have here also a huge list. Okay. And if I open account balances, there is a big list here. Similarly, if I open profit center, if I open segment, if I open line items, and if I open document, there are so many documents, there are so many reports that I am able to see. Are we providing all these reports to the user? No, you're not going to provide all the reports to the user. You are going to decide based on the client business process what transactions you are going to propose or what transactions are relevant for them to manage their day-to-day business operations. Based on that, you are going to fill up certain reports which are useful to the client in the BPML list. Those reports you need to run on the development system. Make sure output is coming. It's not that you are able to put the T code, enter, you are able to come out. It is not called as testing. You need to open the report. Let's say you need to open the report like this. If I'm able to see the screen like this, I cannot say this is completed. What I need to do, I need to make sure that the output is coming. Let's say if I execute something, I need to make sure some output is coming on the screen. If you find any output, then you say that, okay, this report is working. Whether the data that is there in the report is valid or invalid is secondary. First, make sure the report is giving some output. This is how you are going to test, but how you will test? You need to know which T code to be tested. Now, this list you will get from BPML. Based on the BPML, you will prepare the test case document or test script document. Now, the screens that we are seeing currently is called as, these screens we call it as GUI screens. These screens are called as GUI screens, but we also discussed that currently most of the projects are on S4HANA. In S4HANA, users will be mostly using Fiori applications than GUI screen. In most of the clients, in most of the projects, user will not have this SAP logon pad also. Users will not have this SAP logon pad also. What user will do? User will come to the office. He will open his Internet Explorer or Google Chrome like this. In this Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, what he will do? He will simply have a bookmark enabled like this. The way you have here, if you look at, I have added development quality production. Development quality production is with consultant. Only quality production is with end user. So what will end user will do? End user will create two links like this. Let's say quality and then production, hyperlinks will be created. The moment I click on this hyperlink, it will open result like this. Even in real time, you will get the same thing. Your connection is not private. Same thing you will get. Click on advanced, come down, proceed to S4 HANA unsafe. Click on this. When you click on this, this is how you will get the logon page. This is your Fiori logon page. Currently, whatever the projects that you work with, most of your users will be working on SAP Fiori screens, not on the GUI screens. Remember, most of the users will be working on Fiori, not on GUI. Certain clients, they don't even have SAP logon pad for the end users. Here, same thing. You need to put your user ID. You need to put the password. Click on logon. Click on logon.
Sorry, Ajay, I have a question. So, in S4HANA, if we do anything, it will reflect in Fury apps, or how it will be?
It is the same. The way you are looking at the screen is different. Let's say you are using your WhatsApp. You can use WhatsApp on your mobile. You can also use
Yeah.
WhatsApp on your web.
Yes.
Now, if I'm
Ajay.
sending a message on my mobile, will it reflect on your this one? It is the same.
Yeah.
But there are certain features which are possible only in your mobile application. There are certain features which are possible only on the web application. Correct? Huh?
Yes, Ajay.
The same logic here also. Certain things you can do only on GUI. Certain things you can do only on Fiori.
Okay, Ajay.
Yeah. So in the test environment, it will take a little time to load. This is because of the server internet connections that they will have. The internet connections that these server teams that they maintain is low version internet. So it will take a little time to load all the data. The Fiori application, Fiori screen looks exactly the same irrespective of the version. If it is 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, whatever the version, it is the same. Let me open the other screen also. Okay, this is how it looks like. So user will not have to remember the transaction codes. Now in GUI, what I will do if I want to create a GL account, I have to type a T code here. I want to create anything, if I wanted to post anything, let's say if I want to display, I need to put FB03. Then I'll open this screen, display document here. Now the same thing, if I wanted to see on Fiori screen, point number one, I'll have the search icon here. If I click on search, I can either put transaction code or I can simply put display document. Once we use 2-3 times, it works faster automatically. The second point, what you can do is you can also search by this grouping. Here, if you click on this, you will find all the groups that are assigned to your user role. These are all the groups. If I go down, under one of the groups, that display document tile will be assigned. If I go to documents, now I have something called display document. Let me click on this display document. If I click on this display document, I am able to see this screen here. And now if I want to know what is this transaction code which I opened, what I need to do, I need to click on my user profile on the top right side. If I click on this, you will get an option, you will get a pop-up opened. From this pop-up, click on About. From the pop-up, if you click on About, it will give you the transaction code. This is not the FB03 transaction code. This is something called a CV03N. So we're not talking about CV03N, we are talking about FB03. So this is not what we wanted. So I'll close this screen. So this is not the catalog that we are looking for. Or here I was searching. It is still loading. Let me search again.
Ajay, I have the question over here. Like, when you create the bank account, you need to assign our role over here to the Fury. This is only for the consultant or is for the end user too? For example, for the business
Bank
partner
account,
also.
this is for the end user. Bank accounts in S4HANA are created by the end user.
Like for example, like they assign the role for the Fury for every module now was for the business partner. For the, if you want to create anything in the business partner, you need to be assigned the role over there on the Fury. For the bank also, there is role is assigned over there. This is only for the consultant or it's for the end user too? Um,
Both are there. I'll talk about the roles now shortly.
okay, thank you.
Okay. One sec. This is loading.
Sir, Fury is a upgraded version of GUI.
Yes. It works faster than your GUI. You don't need SAP logon pad and all. If your IP address is whitelisted, IP address in the sense the network that you're connected to is whitelisted, or if you have what you say the VPN on your system, you can access your SAP from anywhere. All you need is internet. That's it. Internet and the link. This your URL link you need.
So
Otherwise, you need to have
no
this
ID
SAP
password is required.
installed. ID password is required. Same ID password that you use for your GUI, it is used here.
Ajay, I have one question about this. Okay, if I have IP ID, can I log into my mobile also?
For you to use this in mobile, the mobile application must be developed. That the APK file must be developed. Only then it is possible.
Okay, okay. Without APK, we can't do it. Am
You
I
can
correct?
you cannot use it. Yes, and even there also there will be
Oh,
restrictions that you cannot use on any mobile. So there will be the way you track it is to be accessed only from this mobile. You will track the system IP address and all, right?
okay. We have the authentication app like that now.
Correct.
We need to install. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Because it depends on the client. Certain clients they say that our data is very sensitive. Even though we have it, we don't allow your consultant or the user to open from any other application apart from the authorized laptop. Let's say your laptop will have one ID, Mac ID, something will be there, right? Inside your laptop.
Okay, is it work on authorization basis? Am I correct?
Correct. So they will whitelist
Right.
your system Mac ID. Only with that, only in that
Okay.
laptop, only in that machine you can open this.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Just a minute. I think this is working very slow. Normally it will
So
not take
as a
this much
FICO,
time. Go ahead.
FICO consultant, what are the roles and responsibility in respect of Fury app? Means we have to develop the configuration or customization in Fury app also, or only in GUI?
Whatever you do in GUI,
Okay,
same thing is applicable on your Fury application.
okay,
Because whatever the T code that you have from GUI, you can take everything into Fury. There are certain things which are Fury specific, which cannot be taken into GUI. The reverse you cannot go. There are certain transactions, there are certain master record screens, there are certain reports which are applicable only in the GUI. Now, whatever is applicable in the GUI, everything you can take into Fiori, because for this GUI transaction, the ABAP consultant, in the ABAP, again, you will have the Fiori ABAP consultant. The Fiori related ABAP consultant will create a catalog, will create a tile for it, and he will move that tile to production system. And here you can see the tile catalog on the Fiori application. But for the transactions, tiles or the reports which are Fiori specific, you can open only on the Fiori. Majorly, your Fiori related transactions or applications will begin from a term called manage. Let's say you call about post journal entries in Fiori. If it is Fiori specific, you may be having it as manage journal entries. You may be having customer line item report in Fiori. If it is Fiori specific, manage customer line item. This term manage is specifically used for Fiori based applications.
Okay.
Ajay, I'm Loknath here.
Yes.
No, the question is like, can we do the configuration in Fiori apps and the TRs will be generated here?
Yes, you can do it.
Thank you.
There is something called OK code. If you enable the OK code, you can do whatever you do on GUI completely 100% on Fiori. Okay, this is the first time, so it will take a little time. Let me open this only. Okay, now when you look at this is your transaction code related to GUI. Whenever you open anything related to GUI on your web page, you will get these options. So if you go to more here, you will get an option called GUI actions and settings. Go to GUI action and setting. You just need to click on settings. Once you click on setting, you will find something called show OK code under interaction design. Inside the interaction design, you will find show OK code. Just enable this. Enable this OK code and click on save. When you enable this OK code, what you are going to get is this T code bar. Now everybody is aware of this icon, right? Where I can put FS00 T code. This you are going to get it enabled by enabling OK code on your Fiori application. Here I have enabled OK code. I'll click on save. Let this get saved. With the test servers, initially these applications will work a little slower, especially the Fiori applications. When we use couple of times, it automatically gets faster. First time to load the tile and all, it takes a little time. When you are using it repeatedly, it works faster. Now if you see, you are able to get an OK code here. The command bar you are able to see here, correct? Earlier this was not there. This is the same functionality of your GUI T code command bar. The way you open a T code here. Now let me open SPRO here. I am on GUI. I go to SPRO. Okay, I go to SAP reference IMG. Now I am on IMG screen in GUI application. Let me open Fiori. In the command bar, which I enabled now, I'll put slash in SPRO. I am on Fiori screen. I am trying to open SPRO. Let me press enter. Now I got SPRO. Let me click on SAP reference IMG. Now I am on this. If I go to financial accounting, or simply I'll go to enterprise structure. Definition, financial accounting, define company. Okay, let me click on new entry here. I'll put test 1. I'll put country as India. Only mandatory fields I'm filling. Language is English. Currency as INR. I'll put test here. Enter. Let me click on save. Now, am I able to create a configuration on Fiori screen or not?
Yes, Ajay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to log into GUI. I don't need GUI at all. I can do everything that I can do on my SAP GUI on the Fiori application, provided you enable or you activate OK code. For that, what you need to do, you just need to open any one transaction which is GUI based. GUI based transaction you open, and you will find here more. Click on more. You will find GUI actions and settings. Click on settings. GUI actions and settings. From there, click on settings. And you will find under interaction design, visualization, enable show OK code. If you enable this, you will get this command bar activated, and you can use it the way you use it your GUI. Okay, now this one, if I go back, let me come out of this. Now there is no difference between your GUI and your Fiori now. Whatever you do on GUI, you can do everything on Fiori. Even your end users can open everything on Fiori. If I go to here, if I click on home, you will get my apps, and here you will also get easy access menu. Here you will also get easy access menu. When you click on this, it will display the complete easy access here. Whatever easy access you have, you will get this here also. It takes a little time to load, but you can get an icon here, easy access. When you click on it, you will get the total easy access here. These are all your Fiori application related things. Yeah.
Ajay, I have a question over here. For the bank account, you go use the transaction code NWBC, but it reconnect to the different browser. And
That
the
is called
second way you
NetWeaver.
can NetWeaver, okay.
Okay, that for that you don't need to open this. You can straight away go to
It can create
FI12.
from
From
the
there you
Fury.
will get auto redirected. Yes.
So if you are creating from the Fury, you can create from the Fury. If you are on the GUI, you can create through the transaction NWBC. Is that right?
We don't even use NWBC. When you go to normal house bank creation, from there it will redirect you to the respective house bank creation by default.
Okay. Why they put on the NetWeaver actually, the transaction code like
Earlier it was
because it's
there at the
common, right?
beginning, but now you can create it as a Fiori tile. It was there at the beginning
Okay.
when it was
Okay.
launched.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just try to show easy access. This is taking a little time. Let me click on 1909 so that you'll understand that whatever you do on GUI, whatever you do on Fiori has not got any differences. If somebody is asking you, do you have any experience on Fiori? Do not tell no, because it is the same. You don't need any specific experience to work on Fiori. It is just matter of 1 or 2 hours. If you look at it, you will automatically understand what it is, because your complete GUI is on your Fiori. There is nothing specific that you will work exclusively on Fiori. Yes, there are certain applications, there are certain apps which are Fiori based, which are exclusively designed for Fiori, which will work faster than your GUI. If
But
I
Ajay, I heard actually on the client location also the Fury is slow. Yeah, like I heard like last year. Is the same issues in the client location or
no,
it's
no, no,
like
it's not. It is not based on that. It is based on your internet connection and the data load on the server.
okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, this is taking a little time. I'll show in the upcoming sessions how we will look at all these things. Fine. So this is your Fury related things. And when you are testing, make sure, if you are talking about, since we are learning SAP now, we will be getting into the market now. Whenever somebody is asking you if you are part of any implementation project, your implementation project is basically on S4 HANA. If somebody is asking you, have you performed any testing, UAT or whatsoever, then if they are asking you where did you test everything, mention very clearly that you tested on both GUI and Fiori. And if they're asking where did you perform your UAT, be very clear that you performed UAT on Fiori applications, not on GUI. Okay, if you're talking about you worked on S4 HANA, you're not talking about Fiori, then it gives a negative opinion, negative impression, which you're not supposed to get it. Okay, now when you're testing, what I was talking in the development, you are going to test based on the transactions that are applicable for your client. This applicable transactions you are going to decide based on the BPML list. From the BPML list, you are going to prepare the test cases or the test script. Each and every test case, each and every test script we will execute, and make sure that system is allowing the data, outputs are coming, it is not providing any errors. Let it be transaction related error, config related, master related, and lastly authorization related error. Most of us will forget this. You should not forget this. Authorization related error is also very important. You need to make sure there are no authorization related errors. The person who is supposed to create a transaction must be able to enter the screen, must be able to create the transaction, and he must be able to save the transaction without any error. Sometimes what will happen, when you open the transaction, you will be able to open the T code, you will be able to input all the data. When you click on save, you will get you are not authorized to do so and so. While saving, certain authorization errors will come. While creating, certain authorization errors will come. All these authorization errors we need to figure out, you need to fix during UAT wherever possible. Now here you need to talk about something called user roles and authorizations. When you talk about user roles and authorizations, there are two type of user
Uh,
roles and authorization.
Ajay, when you say UT and UAT, UT is unit testing and UAT is user acceptance testing. Is that right? Because
Yes,
like every time I'm getting confused. So you said like right now UAT like need to be check configuration check on the HANA, or you said UT. Actually unit testing you said, is that right?
yes,
You said UT. Is
UT,
that
correct.
right?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Because as you said, like UAT, you are not UAT document created by the end user. Not
user,
that's not our. Okay,
right.
thank you.
Okay, when you're talking about user roles and authorizations,
Huh?
you have ECC, you have S4HANA. You need to consider the roles and authorizations from both perspective. If you're talking about ECC and if you're talking about S4HANA, I would say in ECC, I will have backend roles. When it comes to S4HANA, I will have backend role. At the same time, I will have front end roles. If I am a user, if I'm a user and I am logging into GUI, or I'll say ECC GUI, and at the same time S4 HANA. In S4 HANA, you will have GUI, you will also have Fiori. Now, this is one set. I'll put yellow. This is another set. I'll put orange. Now, for a user to access any particular transaction on GUI, what you need is backend role. You need backend role for it. Even in S4 HANA, for a user to access anything on GUI, he needs backend role. And for a user in HANA to access any role, to access any transaction, any screen on Fiori, he should have front end role. So here you need to have backend role plus front end role. We have just seen this on the Fiori screen. You are able to see so many applications on your screen now. This is your Fiori screen. If you look at this journal entries, I am able to see post journal entries, manage journal entries. As I said, wherever you find a term called manage, all this manage related are Fiori specific. For most of the manage related content on your Fiori, it does not have any transaction code in the backend. It is a Fiori exclusive transaction, Fiori exclusive application. You cannot find them on GUI. Okay. Now, if I wanted to look at something here on my Fiori application, my user ID must be assigned with two different roles. My user ID must be assigned with two different roles. One is the backend role, the other one is front end role. So what is backend role? What is front end role? You need to understand. Tomorrow, when you are facing any interview or tomorrow, when you're working in any project, as a FICO consultant, it is your responsibility to get the user roles and authorizations created. You cannot say roles and authorizations are part of a basis activity. It is created by basis based on the input provided by the functional consultant. For FICO related roles and authorizations, as a FICO consultant, you are called as functional. You will have to prepare a list, share it with the basis consultant. Basis consultant will create the roles. He will create a test user and he will share it with you. You log in with the test user, make sure everything is working as expected. So this is also another testing that you are going to perform to ensure that the roles and authorizations are working fine. With the backend role, I will be able to access on GUI. On GUI, I will be able to access any particular screen based on the backend role. On Fiori, I will be able to see any screen. If I have to look at anything on my screen like this, I need backend role plus front end role. Front end role will display the icon like this. If you look at this, you have manage credit accounts. For me to look at manage credit account, I must have the role which is related to this category. If you look at this, this is coming under master data. Or if you look at this, this is coming under general entries. For this journal entries, there will be a role created, which
You
is
can
nothing
you
but
say Ajay, you saying this is easy access for us actually, is that right? On the Fury side.
No, not this is not
when
the
you
easy
say like
access.
front end?
Easy
Like
access, you
if you
will
say like
find.
some client, like in
Go
the
on.
real time, some clients are not using Fury. They are only on premises, even though they are on the S4HANA. In that case, how it will be work? They are what you saying that's a only GUI.
If it is only
Because
GUI, you only need
hmm,
backend role. If you are using
huh,
Fury, you need front end role
for the consultant
for
for the
anybody,
consultant you talk.
for anyone.
Then it will be get confused because we don't know which one is user role and which one is the consultant role actually. I'm getting
It
confused
is
over here when
something.
you're saying
It is something which
uh,
is to be created. It is something which is to be developed. It is something which is to be monitored by a FICO consultant. So we cannot say as a FICO consultant, I do not know in which role this transaction is part of. We cannot say that because as a FICO consultant, it is your responsibility to know which role to be assigned to give access to a particular transaction. It is our responsibility. Basis, if you tell, basis consultant also will ask you, please give me the role so that I can assign it to the user.
but in the ECC when you say like for the easy access screen, so user having access, but they don't have access for the SPRO. So right now I'm confused here like when
Let's
you said
say if
backend
you
role or
look at this GUI screen,
hmm,
okay, let me double click on this. Am I able to open or not?
yeah, you can open it.
If I have the access, I will be able to go inside. If I do
Hmm,
not have the access, it will not allow me to go inside. At the bottom, there will be an error message. You are not authorized.
okay.
Okay, you will get an error message stating you are not authorized. I cannot see this screen. It will stop me there.
Okay.
Okay, so as I said, during your
AJ,
But anyways,
sorry,
Ajay, you are on the
sorry.
easy access screen. So anyway, in the real time, we don't have access for that for the consultant. Is that right? This is access only for
no,
the
no,
end user.
not like that. You can use both. It is not like that.
And after the production release, I'm talking about.
Yes, even after production you release, you can use both. No restriction as such. Only for the end user, the client wants users to work on Fury. That is the reason they do not give GUI to the users.
Okay.
Okay.
AJ, two questions. What is SAP's best practice when it comes to creation of roles? Do you create roles as single roles or you create them as composite roles? Number one. Then number two, when you assign these roles to users, do you assign them to a user profile or you assign them to a position such that if that person either moves out of the organization or is promoted and someone else is nominated for that position, that person will automatically assume the roles that will be assigned to a position. So which one of those two questions, what's SAP's best practice? Thanks.
When you are creating the roles, first you are going to consider the positions. Okay, client, your client is going to decide what are all the positions in each module. Let's say if I'm talking about accounts payable, in accounts payable, I will say there are list of users whose activity or whose role is to create only the invoices. For these kind of positions, what I want the user to be able to create the invoice and only to display. I don't want a user who is creating the invoice to make the corrections on it. For making any corrections, I want to have dual control called maker checker concept. If I am a user who made a transaction, but I realized that something is wrong, I want certain information on this document to be corrected. I don't want the same user or a particular list of users to be able to change it. For this, you may be having another set of users. So based on another set of users, I may be calling it based on another position. I may say accountant, senior accountant, or the process manager, SME, subject matter expert. Based on that, I will be segregating the different roles. So based on your requirement, we can create n number of roles. So this can be either based on the position or based on the transactions that you want to handle, based on the specific user to whom you may have to give additional accesses. Now, if you are moving a particular user from one designation to another designation, let's say till today or as of now, I am going to create the invoice postings, but I've been promoted. From tomorrow onwards or from next month onwards, I will no longer be working on this. I will be working on something else. Now here what I will do, I will be modifying my roles accordingly. In the sense, there will be a request sent out to the SAP team stating that so and so user roles will have to be modified. Please remove the roles related to invoice processing and assign the roles related to reporting and reconciliations. So as a FICO consultant, we must know what the client or the user is talking about, what kind of roles that he is currently having, and what roles they want them to remove and which roles they want them to add. So this anyways, I'm going to show you in detail how you will create a role, how you will share this one. Normally, if you go to SU3.
Ajay, I have one question here. Who will provide the roles for end users?
Consultant.
Consultant provide that. Who will give the access for?
Access will be provided by the basis, role will be given by the functional
Okay.
consultant. Because
Okay.
basis consultant does not know, let's say I am a user, now I wanted to display a particular document or I want to work on accounts payable. Now I'm a new joinee or I moved internally from one department to another department, or now I am assigned additional task to perform reconciliation. To do this reconciliation, there are different transaction codes, different reports to be executed. Correct? For these reports,
Yes,
currently
yes.
I do not have access. Now I need to get access. For this, the access will be assigned by the basis consultant, but basis consultant is not aware which role to be assigned to get that access. What will basis consultant do? He will simply go to SU01 and he will give the user, let's say AJ01. He will give the user, he'll go to the user profile and he will go to the roles tab here. Inside the roles, you will find different roles here. And for you to open a particular transaction which is related to reconciliation or any other particular report or T code master, how will basis consultant know which one to be assigned? What will basis consultant do? Basis consultant will send an email to FICO consultant, looping FICO consultant, or dear FICO consultant, please let me know which role to be assigned. Now, as a FICO consultant, you cannot say I do not know. It is your responsibility, it is your task to identify which role to be given to give that access. Now, to the basis consultant, you will give like this. Let's say, please assign this role. What will basis consultant do? He will come here on the change mode. He will add this role. He will give the validity from and to date. Clear?
Clear, Ajay. Thank you.
Yeah. Now here, when I talk about backend role, front end role, backend role will allow you to open the transaction based on the T code on the GUI screen. Based on the T code on the GUI screen, backend role will allow you to enter the transaction. Front end role will display the tile here. Now, if I come to this screen, this is called as your Fury screen. Inside the Fury screen, I am able to see one screen called Post Cash Journal Entries. Now, point number one, I am able to see the Post Cash Journal Entries. You are all able to see this tile, which I am moving my cursor on.
Yes.
No, sir.
This Post Cash Journal Entries, can you see on the Internet Explorer?
It's visible.
Yes, yes, we can see it's visible.
Right? You can see this tile. This is called as a tile. This is Fury application, or this is called as Fury tile, TILE tile. Now these are all called as catalogs, groups or catalogs. Inside the catalog, you will have the different Fiori tile. Currently, I am talking about a tile called post cash journal entries. If you are able to see this post cash journal entries on your Fiori application, you are able to see this based on front end role. Based on what? Based on
Front-end role.
front end role,
Screen is not
you are
moving,
able
sir.
to.
Sir, unable to see.
Now I'm on the Excel sheet.
So
Can you see
now
the
it is
Excel sheet
visible.
now?
Yes, sir, now I can see, but before that, only Fury screen was seen.
Okay, let me open Fiori screen again. Can you see the Fiori screen now?
No, sir, only Excel sheet.
Maybe due to internet,
Yeah,
slow internet, it might load a little. I'm keeping on this screen only. I'm not going to
There
Excel.
is no, sir, before that also, from 5 to 10 minutes before, your whatever you are speaking and your screen was not in sync.
This is not issue over
And,
here.
that's the personal internet issue, not.
Yeah,
It's
that
not.
is the network issue from your side. Okay, maybe network slow, something like that. Now you're able to see the Fiori screen, everyone.
Now it is
yes,
visible.
Ajay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Your
Here,
screen.
here you're able to see something called. I'll not go to Excel. I'll explain here itself. Here you're able to see something called post cache journal entries. If a user who is working on petty cache, for that user to work on petty cache on the Fiori application, first thing they have to see the icon, correct? First thing I need to see the icon before I do anything. Yes or no?
Yes.
This icon
Yes.
is called as Fiori tile. Icon is called as Fiori tile. This tile is visible based on the front end role. Which role?
Front-end role.
Front end role. This icon on the Fiori screen is applicable based on the front end role. You will be able to perform any action on this icon based on the back end role. If I click on this, if I'm able to go inside or not is decided by the back end role. Now I'm able to see this based on the front end role. If I click on this, let me click on this. If I go inside, if I'm able to see the screen of post cache journal entries, this is because of my backend role. I'm able to see the icon based on the front end role. I'm able to go inside the transaction based on the backend role. Clear? A query contains two roles: backend, front end. One to display the tile, second one to access the tile. For accessing the tile, backend; for displaying the tile, front end. Any confusion? Anyways, you are going to understand all this. You will be testing all this practically once we start the configs, but this is just to make sure you get an idea.
Literally, I'm actually sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt. I'm actually confused between these two, GUI and then Fury. Literally, I'm really hard to understand the scenarios,
Slowly
whatever you were
it
explaining, right?
takes. Right. Now, this will be the same situation if you are not aware of these points. Let's say when we attend an interview, when we join any organization, or even we have the experience on practical SAP FICO on ECC. The moment you switch on to S4 HANA projects, the same confusion, everybody will get it. So that is what
Okay.
we are trying to remove the confusion now.
Ajay, even I have.
On this Fury, sir. So who are actually going to work? I mean, users or
End
consultant,
users,
end
end
users, right?
users, end users.
But being an end user, actually, I'm working in one of the organization, right? But I'm not using this Fury. Since now, actually, I'm not aware of this Fury concept and all. I'm working on a normal SAP ECC
Is
version
that
only.
ECC or S4 HANA?
I that I am not sure what exactly. We usually, as you mentioned, right? We usually have the password, username, and all, right? In in actually in my organization, there is no such concept. We usually have that link. Okay, probably if you go ahead and click that link, automatically SAP Easy Access will get open. So we're not
Normally,
using.
What they will do
Yeah.
for it is they will link your SAP user ID password with your system ID password. The moment if you are able to unlock your system, you will not
Okay.
require to open your SAP with ID password. Whatever
Okay.
the system ID password you have, that is synced with your SAP. You just need to click
Okay.
on that SAP logon pad. Automatically, your ID password will get opened even without taking your permission.
Okay.
Because here you will not be able to log in with some other user ID because you have no option to input your ID password. Correct?
But what we're using is ECC only, that I am aware, because whenever we log in,
ECC
we
Fury is not applicable. Fury is applicable only on S4HANA.
okay.
Ajay, here is confusion actually on the Fury because when you work on DCC, you work on easy access screen and like SPRO as a consultant. But when here you saying front end and back end, I'm not able to see where we are working on easy access or where is like SPRO over here. Like
As
that
a
is the
consult,
confusion. Yeah.
as a consultant, the way you work in ECC, the way you work in S4HANA is exactly the same. There is no
So
change from a
so the thing
consultant
is,
point of view.
so what is happening over here when you says like a back end and front end? I'm not able to recollect like you were talking about easy access screen or you're talking about like customer SPRO over here. As I know, in the even though in the S4HANA there is a GUI or there is like a Fury, like it depends upon the client who want to work on the Fury or not. But that is not issue over here for me when you say back end and front end. I'm not able to recollect you saying about the easy access screen or you're talking about SPRO.
Whenever you talk about roles, your roles are exclusively designed for easy access, not for the SPRO, because the roles are relevant for the user to control the authorization.
But when you create the roles on the SPRO and then you authorize on the end user on the ECC. Here, like my confusion when you says in the back end and front end, I was not able to
Now, let's say if
see.
you take a user, for example, you take a user who is creating a document.
Hmm.
You take a user who is creating a document. Let's say, let me write down this here. I'll take a user who is creating a document. But take a user who is creating a document. Let's say F-02 is the transaction code. Everybody is aware of F-02, right? Where you can post a
Yes.
debit credit document.
Yeah, for
Now,
easy access screen. Yeah.
point number one, if he is using it in ECC, okay, this is called as easy access, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, that's right.
Now, in easy access, you have only one option called role. You don't put front end, back end, no head, no tail for role in ECC. You simply call
I,
it as role.
I got it.
When it comes to S4 HANA, when it comes to S4 HANA, here you have the same thing. Easy access is there on S4 HANA also. If your user has got SAP logon pad, he will go to easy access. He will use it. Now in S4 HANA, along with easy access, you have something called Fury, correct?
Yeah, but
This
can you
easy
explain
access,
like on S4HANA also there is like you can say like on premises some client working, some client working on the Fury. So can you explain in that way like segregate the S4HANA on the on premises on the Fury and on cloud? Like
these
every
points,
client
if
is
I tell, everybody will get confused. So I am avoiding certain points not to create any further confusion. These points I'll talk in detail in the upcoming sessions. Once we are familiar with these screens, I'll talk elaborately on all these points.
okay, sorry.
Okay, because most of us will be looking at these points, most of us will be hearing this terminology, these screens for the first time. Since this is what we have to work, this is what we have to learn, so I am proceeding with These points, even though I know that this is leading to confusion, but no other option, we have to learn this. Now in S4HANA, when you talk about easy access, I'm calling it as GUI. On the other side, I can also access every screen on S4HANA using Fiori application. For easy access, I have a role which I call it as simply role, here also role, because this is a different user interface, this is a different user interface, correct?
Yes.
Now for me to access a screen on GUI, which means non-Fiori, not the Fiori application, on GUI application, which means this application, this screen. On this screen, if I wanted to put a transaction code and then open any particular screen, I have to specifically mention backend role. Now I'll put backend role. Similarly, for Fiori, if I have to open any particular thing, I need to open front end role. For Fiori, you need front end role. For GUI, you need backend role. Now, how you are going to create roles and all, I'll explain in the further sessions. If I talk about them now, it will lead to unwanted confusions, which we do not want to get at this point of time.
Okay.
But all I wanted you to remember is every screen that you have on SAP FICO can be accessed on GUI. At the same time, this can be accessed on Fiori. Now, whenever you are talking about the current market trend, if you go into the market now, you will be expected to know the knowledge or to be able to work on S4 HANA environment. Based on S4 HANA environment, you must be very clear with S4 HANA, how it works on Fiori, how you will be able to work on GUI, and how you are able to manage both things on GUI and on Fiori. Because for a simple example, let's say you are working on a support project of S4 HANA. Let's say you joined newly in that project, in that organization, where your user is telling that I am not able to create a document, or I am trying to create something, I'm getting an error. Now you know that this is related to document posting. F-02 is getting a problem. Now he is telling that, can you help me how to do it? Now, according to you, you may be expecting that he will go to F-02 on GUI, but you will be surprised that there is no GUI on the user screen. When you are able to see the user screen, maybe either on the screen sharing, or if you are physically at the client location, you may not be able to find GUI access or SAP logon pad. Your user is showing on Fiori application. Now you are confused. So far, you are confident that I have experience, I have already resolved so many errors on GUI. The moment you look at Fiori screen, you get confused. This is something different. You get a different feel by looking at Fiori application. You do not know how things are coming, where you need to control, how you need to work and all. Because not everything on Fiori is T-code based. There are certain Fiori exclusive transactions. Now this confusion and this dilemma is common even if somebody who is working on SAP as a genuine consultant for last 3-4 years, but new to S4 HANA. Whatever the confusion that you are getting right now is the common confusion even a real SAP FICO consultant will get when they look at the SAP S4 HANA Fiori screens for the first time. Clear? But in
Yes.
1 to 2 sessions, you will get all these questions, all these confusions clarified. Yeah, go ahead.
Ajay, okay, sorry. Without bringing much confusion, correct me if I'm right. So in the GUI graphic user interface system, we use transactions. So for instance, if it's authorizing and posting a part document in GUI, we use FBV0. But now when you go to Fiori, it is represented as in a form of a tile. So you will see a tile. Through that tile, it takes you to the transaction. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
There are two ways that you can search. Point number one, if you activate OK code, you can straight away put transaction code here. Okay. Point number two,
Yes, Ajay.
you
Okay.
can search with transaction code here, or you can search with the tile name like post parked documents you can search, or FBV0 you can search. You will be able to search as FBV0 only if the ABAP consultant, which means the Fiori consultant, while creating the T code as a tile. Now, similarly, when you create any customer, any vendor, there is something called search term. Yes, no? There is something called search term, correct? Huh? While creating any master like customer, vendor, company code.
Yes, yes, we do have in GUI.
Now, while creating a transaction code as a Fiori tile, ABAP consultant will have to maintain the transaction code in the search term. If the ABAP consultant is maintaining the T code in the search term while creating a Fiori tile, you will be able to search based on the T code. If the ABAP consultant did not put the T code while creating the Fiori tile for an existing GUI T code, you will not be able to search with the T code. You have to search with the transaction description, post journal entries, display document, reverse document, reset a transaction, post customer invoice. Like this, you need to search. But whatever the confusions that you are getting on the Fiori screen, each and every confusion is valid confusion. Each and every confusion that you are getting must be clarified. Otherwise, the same confusion you will face when you are in a project, when you are in the organization, that I don't want anybody to face. Clear?
It means all
Whatever
the
the,
TPs are not synced with Fiori.
no, because it is again based on the requirement. Whatever the transactions that you have as part of BPML we were talking here. What is it? We were talking about BPML here, right? Which transactions are applicable for your client business process? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These business transactions, you need to make sure you will create them as Fiori tiles. If it is already there, you will be using it. If it is not there, you need to get it created through ABAP consultant. In ABAP, there are different specializations like workflow consultant, UI5 consultant, Fiori ABAP. In the ABAP, there will be one person specialized in Fiori. They will be creating all these points. It's just a matter of 5-10 minutes. Maybe within half an hour, they'll create and give it to you. These are all the processes which are to be followed during your implementation project. And as a FICO consultant, your role is major in this. You are the one who has to drive all these points.
One question, sir, here. As you said, like Fiori, we need to have two roles, front end plus back end. Front end is to view the type and back end is to access the type, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Any further questions on this? Because I'll not continue further to complicate or to increase your confusions. I'll stop it here. Tomorrow I will revise these points once again so that any confusions that you have will get clarified. Because every confusion that you're getting here is a valid confusion. It will be the same situation when you're in any organization as a FICO consultant working in S4HANA project or supporting for a client who is using S4HANA for the first time. Exactly the same confusions, the same questions that are striking your mind will strike there also. So it is better we clarify all these points. We are clear with what is Fiori, what you will do as a consultant in GUI Fiori, so that you will get to know it is simple. You will understand where you will do what activity, how you will identify the roles and all. This is, remember, the user roles and authorization is one of the major activity in any implementation project. No surprise, there may be a FICO consultant exclusively working on these roles and authorizations for testing purpose. Mark my words, there may be a FICO consultant in big projects exclusively working on testing these roles and authorizations or working on this roles and authorizations. Imagine if there is a FICO consultant exclusively working on this area alone. Understand the importance of it, because there is something called SOD, segregation of duties. There is something called SOD, conflict, segregation of duties conflict. If I am supposed to create an invoice, I am not supposed to release the payment. I am not supposed to make the payment. Is this correct or not?
Yes.
Correct.
If I am supposed to create an invoice, I am not supposed to release the payment or make the payment. Now, if I am able to create the invoice, at the same time I am able to make the payment, there is something wrong. It's a very big problem. They say that this is SOD conflict. SOD conflict means one person cannot have dual access. It has to be with two different people. That is where you call it as maker checker concept. One has to make it, the other one will have to check it. So in short, one person cannot do two activities in certain sensitive transactions. So these things will be achieved based on the rules. When it comes to a role, you need to be very careful, very conscious how you will design the roles, how you will identify the roles. If you get any ticket on the roles, you will get support tickets on the roles also. When somebody is talking about support project, if you say that, always don't think that while posting the invoice you are getting an error, you googled this error. This is not a support ticket. This everybody knows. You must also talk about you got a support ticket to create a new rule that user is unable to access a particular transaction from today onwards. Till yesterday he was able to open a report, but today onwards he is getting your not authorized. I got a support ticket, I worked on it, I provided the access. Then you may get cross questions, what happened, why user was not able to get it. These kind of questions, these kind of points is what you have to raise, you have to discuss when you are talking to somebody on FICO, especially in your interviews. Clear? All right, so let me stop this here for today. I think I've created enough confusion today. Tomorrow I'll give clarifications for all this, whatever the doubts that you have. Before starting of the class, I'll repeat all these points once again. And after that, we will continue with the continuation of this. Okay. I'll share this Excel sheet now. Just refer this once so that if you have any questions, confusions, you can make a note of it. I will clarify all your questions, confusions, whatever you have before start of the class tomorrow. Okay. All right, then let me stop this recording now.